you're on, guys, I will jump. We're on. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everyone. Listen, guys, we are talking about the Falklands Islands, the Falklands War 2.0 right now, ladies and gentlemen. It is an inevitability as far as I'm concerned. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. So as a backdrop to this live stream, and I think I may need to do another live stream straight after this again, a couple of recent developments that have been happening today within like the last hour. The Americans are now saying that they're going to give Tomahawk missiles to the Ukrainians. Again, you guys know what I mean by that. I've spoke about that before, the targets that they're going to potentially strike. Also, asymmetric naval warfare, ladies and gentlemen. It's here now. The navies around the world have just found themselves obsolete. I've been warning about this for like over a year. Go check out my previous videos on YouTube, asymmetric naval warfare. And I do like longer videos on asymmetric naval warfare. It's here now. The Russians have begun. Like I said they would, like clockwork, ladies and gentlemen. So we are triple streaming this morning, guys. If any of the feeds go off, I'm streaming on YouTube, TikTok, and X, and the Real Raven one on all platforms. I will start this live stream on TikTok, YouTube, and X. I will then turn TikTok off, and I will go over to YouTube. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, can you guys do me a real big favor actually before we start? Can you like, comment, subscribe, share, bell notification? All those things that help this channel grow. Because it's only your fingers that do that, guys. And thank you so much, because you guys have got fantastic fingers. So the Falkland Islands, guys, what is it all about? What does it mean? And why are people worried about it again? Well, in short, the Falkland Island, whoever controls the Falkland Islands and the surrounding islands controls Antarctica. In short, oil, oil, oil. Shitloads of oil, like a lot of oil. Like, I mean a lot. And at some point, people are just going to give up with this green agenda, because I think the green agenda is just an absolute scam, guys. We need to be producing CO2. Humans need to be producing CO2. If we don't produce, look, guys, this is my opinion, speculation. This is my belief. Do you know what, guys? It's not even my belief. If you go to any greenhouse, now there are greenhouses in the United Kingdom, in North East Lincolnshire, that do like bedding plants and stuff. Like a couple of years ago, I had to go there. It's a long story. The gardeners, or the people who run those greenhouses, they actually pump CO2 into those greenhouses to make the plants grow. So without CO2, the plants don't grow. I'm just going to leave it there, guys, okay? I'm just going to leave it there. So I'm going to give you guys some context on the Falkland Islands, and I will be stopping at various bits to get the comments in the chat, guys, okay? I'll try and prioritize the TikTok chat in the morning, but then I'll go over to guys, the chat this morning on guys, I can't believe what are you guys talking about on you guys are going crazy on YouTube. You guys on the YouTube chat are fantastic. Right, context: the Falkland Island and the dispute. So the Falkland Islands remains a flashpoint in South American and geopolitical scheming, stemming from competing sovereignty claims between Argentina and the United Kingdom. This was inherited from Spanish colonial rule and illegally seized by Britain in 1833. They're the facts, guys. They are the facts. The United Kingdom, however, asserts continuous sovereignty since that time, reinforced by the 2013 referendum, where 99 point, I remember this, it was under David Cameron, where 99.8% of the Falkland Islanders voted to remain British. So those guys are voting to remain British, they're going to remain British. The 1982 Falklands War, which Argentina's military junta invaded but was repelled by British forces. Just for a little bit of context, guys, back in 1982, the Falklands War in 1982, basically all you need to know is the Argentinians invaded, the Royal Marines surrendered, and the parachute regiment had to go and take it back. That's what happened, guys, nothing else. So that was a war, lasted 70, I want to say 74. I might be off on that, but certainly less than 80 days. Around 900 people transcended to beams of light, left Argentina's economy in ruin, and accelerating the junta's downfall. Now, today, the islanders are self-governing British overseas territory, with around 3,500 people, predominantly of British descent, with a stable economy driven by fishing. They say tourism on Wikipedia, but I don't think many people go there for tourism. And the emerging oil infrastructure. Guys, look, quick little bit of advice, all right? if you get chance, so you've got the capacity, buy land in the Falkland Islands, like, because honestly, that is going to be the hottest real estate in the next 30 years. That island, the Falkland Islands, that is going to be the hottest piece of real estate, guys. I promise you. The amount of stuff that's going to be going on down there is unbelievable. So, oil and mineral reserves in the Falklands. The island's strategic value has surged with the recent discoveries of offshore hydrocarbon reserves. Now, the amount of hydrocarbons and oil in the Falkland Islands, guys, you need to understand this. So you can understand the greater context. So the amount of hydrocarbons and oil that is that the Falkland Islands are controlling is almost double. Is almost double, and this is what the known reserves are. We don't know. We've not done the full exploration, guys. Okay, so these are the known oil reserves, and there's probably more, but I don't know about them. So the known oil reserves that the Falklands control are twice as big, almost twice as big as Saudi Arabia's known oil reserves. Now, Saudi Arabia have been, mapping their oil reserves for a long time. The Falkland Islands hasn't really, and that southern Antarctic region haven't been mapped that great. So when you're talking about money, finances, oil, it really is a no-brainer, guys. Like, the amount of riches and treasure that the Falkland Islands dictate are unfathomable. Like, unfathomable. Whoever controls the Falkland Islands, when all this conflict's done, whoever emerges controlling the Falkland Islands is going to be the new world superpower. That's why America wants to take control of Britain. That's why Britain is not going to let the Falkland Islands go. But in this live stream, guys, we're going to be talking about that. And I'm going to give you, from the Argentinian side, a 4-phase operation, how you would take the Falkland Islands. So you've got the Sea Lion oil field, which is the largest discovery. Now, that was located, I think, like north of the Falkland Islands. Now, this recent independent assessment last year estimated there's reserves of 917 million barrels of oil, which is, so that's in the Falklands, that's easily achievable by the Falklands. Now, which is like almost like, what would that be? It would be a lot more than is in the North Sea oil, basically. That would be, so basically the Falkland Islands, what's easily achievable for them is more than we have in the North Sea oil. But then you talk about Antarctica, and ladies and gentlemen, be under no illusion, everything right now is about Antarctica. Antarctica, Antarctica, Antarctica. Nothing else. Believe me, guys, okay? Antarctica is estimated to hold 200 billion barrels of oil. When you put that into context, Saudi Arabia only have around 100 billion, and that's what's known. So you tell me, do you not think there's going to be a war there? Do you not think people are going to want to go out down there and get that war? Do you not think people are going to want to say, oh, a little island with 3,000 people, and I get all the riches in the world? It's a no-brainer, guys. It really is a no-brainer. And when you put into greater context that the Argentinians have been spending money, again, the Argentinians don't really have much money, but they've been spending money on amphibious assault craft, F-16, long-range missiles, exactly what you would. I mean, who are the Argentinians going to attack with amphibious landing craft? Like Peru? Like, what are they going to use with them? Of course, they're buying them for the Falkland Islands. Now, Argentina absolutely opposes the UK's oil drilling facilities. Their sea line drilling facilities. Legally, they're claiming it illegal under its hydrocarbon laws, and they have sanctioned firms. And British firms can't operate in Argentina. Now, they're saying that these resources belong to Argentina, but the British are going down there, and it's kind of one of those things that nobody really talks about, but it's really happening now, right now, guys, okay? So there's a lot of political scheming, legal frameworks being developed with regarding to Falklands, Antarctica, and oil, guys. It's all about oil. It's always about oil. It's always about resources. I don't know why we're not just honest about it. So what's the Antarctica connection? Well, the Falklands serves as the logistic. First of all, it's the logistical gateway to Antarctica. Nowhere else, guys. I promise you, nowhere else. If you guys visualize a map of Antarctica, there's like the peninsula that comes off. Whoever controls Antarctica controls that peninsula and 1/8 of, whoever controls the Falklands controls that peninsula and 1/8 of Antarctica. And that peninsula is the only place realistically you can land ships. You can dock ships. So when you're moving down to Antarctica, if you've got tons and tons of stuff to move in, you've got to use it. It's got to come in by the sea, guys. There's no other way around it. Like the remotality of that place. I don't even know if remotality is a word. It should be a word. It is a word now. I'm a fully qualified English gentleman, and it's my birthright to make up words. So the remotality of Antarctica makes it virtually impossible to get logistics of any scale by air. Now, both nations, Argentina and Britain, are claiming overlapping sections. The British Antarctic Territory, BAT, B-A-T, if you guys want to look at the BAT website, guys, it's got some great information on it, including the South Orkney Islands and the Sandwich Island dependencies of the Falklands under since 1985, and Argentina's Antarctic Territory. And, these claims cover, it's basically the same thing. I know the Argentinians were getting people, the Argentinians back in the day, they were sending people over. They were sending people over to Antarctica to have children in Antarctica. So when those children were born, they were saying, oh, we've got people who are born on this region. It's ours. Guys, look, it's all about Antarctica. Antarctica. Now, there is a ban on mineral exploration, but that ban is due to end in 2048. So all these shenanigans need to be dealt with by 2048, guys. And I get the argument, I get the theories and the conspiracies that there's alien bases down there. I don't know. I've not been to Antarctica. I'd love to go, guys. I really would. We've got to remember that those treaties are lifted they're getting renegotiated in 2048. So resource potential lurks beneath all of this stuff, guys, okay? Geological surveys suggest oil up to 200 billion barrels is in the Weddell Sea. Now, that Weddell Sea, and I know I'm throwing a lot of information out there, guys, okay? That Weddell Sea is a key location because that is in British Antarctic territory. That is like what Britain claims. So remember, whoever controls the the Falklands controls Antarctica. Whoever controls that little bit of Antarctica controls up to 200 billion barrels of oil. Now there's coal, iron, uranium, and other minerals, that are in Antarctica. But that treaty, the treaty that's due to be lifted in 2048, is in place, and people are respecting it. Now, rising global demand for these things are going to make that a very viable option. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, the Falkland Islands 2.0 is going to happen. In this context, Argentina's recent military modernizations, equipping with, we said earlier, F-16s, amphibious landing crafts, long-range air-to-air missiles. What else have they got? Short-range air defense, amphibious landing craft, multi-purpose frigates. They do signal that they are building their formations to go and have another crack at the Falklands. That's what's happening, guys, right now, behind the scenes. Right, I'm going to come on to the comments, guys. Let me come on to the comments. I'll cut, and then we'll talk about, I will give you guys a 4-phase operation on how Raven would take out the Falkland Islands. Do you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do this. Do you know what? I will do it. Right, good morning, everyone on TikTok. Guys, can you like, comment, subscribe, share, bell notification, whatever it is you guys do to help these channels grow. If you're watching on TikTok, can you follow? Can you follow, guys? Can you follow? Hit that follow button. If you're watching on YouTube, you've not done so already, can you subscribe? It's down there. And if you guys are watching on X, then I believe the buttons are up there somewhere. We are talking about the Falkland Islands today, guys. Prepare for the inevitable assault, and I'm giving you guys why I believe it's an inevitability. I'm giving you guys the numbers. I'm giving you guys the finances. I'm giving you guys the geopolitical spectrum right now and as we move forwards into the years ahead. Just also, guys, as a backdrop to this video, I want this to be a standalone video, but on the backdrop to this right now, guys, there's this paraglider strike that's just happened in Myanmar. There is the news that the Americans are giving the Ukrainians Tomahawk missiles. You guys know I've spoke about that before. I've said if the Ukrainians do get the Tomahawk missiles, they are going to be heavily controlled by the United States in the context that, right, Zelensky, you can have Tomahawk missiles, but you can only take out these sites here. That way, it's a win-win. It's a win-win it's a win-win for the Americans, and it's a win-win for the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians get to claim they've got Tomahawks, which they do, and the Americans get to take out Russian sites and blame the Ukrainians, which they will. So that's what's happening there. Also, ladies and gentlemen, asymmetric naval warfare. I've been warning about this for such a long time. I've been warning about it. I've done videos about it. I've been talking about the containerized weapon systems that are readily available now on the market. Those of you who've been following the channel for a while, you guys know I put a bid into UK MOD like 2017. And I said, look, rather than spending all this money, billions and billions of pounds on aircraft carriers, let me refurbish an old cargo ship and I'll turn that into a floating drone factory. They weren't interested. They didn't want to know. Turns out that would have been quite useful right now. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are on. That's what we're talking about. Like I said, I think that asymmetric naval warfare, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do another video on that because I do know what I'm talking about a little bit. Right, lots of people joining, guys. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to jump to the comments. Thank you for sharing, ladies and gentlemen. Please share my stuff. I really do appreciate that. D-Marie Gen X is saying, morning. Coral Reefin is saying, I hope you're good. I am good. My salt eye is gone. I don't know if you guys were on the live stream last night, but I threw salt in my eye. That's how I roll, guys. I salt my own eye. Why wouldn't you salt your eye? Salt and pepper. Push it. Timsky is saying morning all. Silence is saying morning all. Jody Lee, Debbie 1973. Timsky is saying I loved it down there as Rick 1990. I don't know what Rick means. Rick, I'm assuming that's an operational name. Timsky is saying the Falklands. Debbie Doobs is saying morning to everyone. Stu Hatch is saying, don't give them ideas, mate. Stu, the ideas are already there, mate. I've been talking about the Falklands for quite a while. Nobody seems to listen. Timsky is saying, all the fisticuffs with less inferior soldiers. Lisa is saying, morning. So Sharon Owen, Linda Lou, Carlos. Hello, Carlos. Carlos is saying, Trump made his mind up. Yeah, I think he has. Right, let me see what's happening on the YouTube chat. You guys are going absolutely bonkers on the YouTube chat. Debbie Dooms is saying, when is the Falklands conflict likely to happen? That, unfortunately, guys, I don't know. There's two trains of thought. So when is the Falkland Islands? Debbie Dooms is asking, when is the Falkland Islands likely to happen? There's two trains of thought, really. First of all, the Russians would want the Argentinians to strike the Falklands before Britain got involved in Ukraine. That's what the Russians would want. And there will be Russian influence behind the scenes, guys. It's been happening for a while. The Argentinians would want to wait until Britain is deployed in Ukraine before they make their strike. So they're the two trains of thought. I genuinely don't know. Obviously, the Argentinians would want to wait until Britain's deployed. The Russians will be putting pressure on the Argentinians to do that beforehand, because obviously, if the Argentinians do strike the Falkland Islands before British troops are deployed into Ukraine, then Britain's going to use all their resources, and they're going to send all their resources down to the Falkland Islands. the opposite way around, you know, it makes sense for the Argentinians to wait until their British forces are deployed in Ukraine, because then it will have an easier time. So I don't know. What could happen is they could both happen really quickly, like within the space of a month of each other, because once though you would want that you would want that shock of war. You would want that shock and awe. James is saying, so is Russia launching drones from ships against NATO countries? So, James, I will talk about this later. But there was an article released today. This is what Zelensky is claiming. So Volodymyr Zelensky is claiming that Russia is using their shadow fleet. So for those guys who don't know, the sanctions that the United Kingdom imposed on Russia, what they did, they stopped the Russians being able to use commercially available ships to transport their oil. So what the Russians did is said, oh, okay, fair enough. We won't use commercially available ships. We'll buy our own ships. We'll buy our own tankers. We won't insure them. We won't service them. We will literally just cruise there. You know, we'll just rock it till the wheels fall off. So the Russians have this fleet, they're calling it the Dark Fleet, of tankers that cruise around and do what they want, basically, moving oil from country to country. And what Zelensky is saying, not me, guys, I don't want to get Lucy Conley. What Zelensky is saying is that Russians are launching drones from those ships. Now, look, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, I've done so many videos about the threat from asymmetric naval warfare. Like I've absolutely covered every aspect of this. Now, basically, what we're going to find going forwards into the future is, well, you know how everybody's laughing, how everybody laughs at the Russian Navy. Oh, look at the Russian navies. Oh, look, they needed to. Look at our British Navy. Oh, we've got the. What is the job of a navy? Is the job of a navy to have the most expensive ships that look the fanciest, with the fanciest radars or the fanciest kit and equipment and the fanciest airplanes? Or is the job of that navy to destroy or neutralize your opponent's navy? I don't know. Which one? I would say it's the latter. So I believe that the Russians have gone down a different road and they are investing in asymmetric naval warfare. We found this and it's almost impossible to deal with, guys. I as an infantryman, it's very difficult to deal with asymmetric warfare, because say you get attacked by a ship and it's a naval ship, it's a Russian Navy ship, you get attacked by it, right? That Russian ship just attacked us, right? Sink it. Done. Okay, we've just been attacked. Where did it come from? Somewhere around there where all those civilian shipping vessels are. Oh, you're going to sink all those shipping vessels? You're going to sink those shipping vessels? First of all, if you sink those shipping vessels, all your evidence sinks. If you sink those shipping vessels and all your evidence sinks, and, you know, international outcry, you've just fired unprovoked on civilian shipping vessels. It's going to be very difficult to deal with, guys. Asymmetric naval warfare. I think I'm going to come back on actually and do a standalone video on that, guys, because I have been talking about it for quite a while. Sorry, guys, I'm just going up by the comments. 82TJT is saying, I heard Germany might supply Ukraine with Tomahawks also. I don't know if Germany have Tomahawks. What I would speculate will happen is the Americans, and again, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting how these missiles get over there. If they're paid for by the Europeans, and I don't even know if this can work, guys, I'll just give you the options. So the news out there at the moment, guys, is it's looking like the Americans are going to give the Ukrainians Tomahawk missiles. Now, if they give them, that's going to mean that the Americans, well, you don't give these things for free. So as far as the Americans are concerned, I would say the Americans have said, right, you guys have these Tomahawk missiles, but you're only allowed to take out these targets. That's what would happen. Now, if the Europeans buy those Tomahawks and then gift them to the Ukrainians, that might be a different story. I don't know how that's going. Endeavour to Preserve is saying Argentinian president is helping to launch a 1 million initiative to improve relationships between Israel and several Latin American countries. Guys, listen, the Falkland Islands 2.0 is coming. It's an inevitability. Right, let me get back on track, guys. Let me get back on track. Oh, hang on. So, James is saying the Germans have the Taurus missile and Frankfurters. I think I need some Frankfurters today, guys. Right, I'm going to get back on track, guys. Okay, so I'm going to give a hypothetical scenario. This is hypothetical, guys. Okay, on how a modern attack, a modern day strike to seize the Falkland Islands would go ahead. Assuming I'm from the Argentinian side. Now, again, there's going to be better people behind the scenes than, well, you know, there probably isn't actually. So do you know what, Argentinians, if you're watching, you may want to thumbnail this video, right? So this, so for this scenario, guys, this scenario assumes a nationalist Argentinian government would be in place. They launch a surprise invasion amid an economic crisis. Now, this would be exploiting global distractions elsewhere, potentially the war in Ukraine, potentially wars in the Middle East, you know, potentially other places, you know, and that's when you would want to do it. So with this scenario, I'm saying that the Argentinians have got the best. It's in the Argentinians' terms, basically. You know, you've got to assume that the British military has been deployed elsewhere. So, phase one, isolation and deception. So you would want to cause diplomatic fog. Now, this would happen like maybe months before. Slowly you would build this up. So you cause diplomatic fog. Publicly escalate the rhetoric via UN speeches, talk about resolutions, talk about illegal oil drilling. You would put your cyber warfare divisions into action, throw in misinformation, disinformation, talk about the United Kingdom is ready to abandon the Falkland Islands, all sorts of craziness, okay? That's what you would do. You would also self-sabotage, try and take out the communication links to the Falklands. You would set up a blockade. You need to put a blockade around the Falkland Islands. Now, guys, listen, this would have to be a very light. It would have to be a quick strike because Britain would obviously defend this. So this strike and this attack on the theoretical attack on the Falklands would mean it needed to be quick because Britain would go and reinforce it. But by then, you would want diplomatic channels in place. So phase two would be air and missile superiority. Now, look, guys. Whether you believe this is likely or not, I think it is likely. What I'll get to in a minute. So you would need an opening strike. Now, the Argentinians do have access to, I think they're Dutch F-16s. I don't know how many they have. So you would use Dutch F-16, or I guess they're Argentinian F-16s, to launch from Argentina and strike the runways in the Falkland Islands. Strike the runways, destroying RAF Typhoons on the ground, aiming to neutralize 80 to 90% of the air capacity in the first wave. You then use Exocet missiles to try and sink and destroy anything else that has strike capacity. You then use a missile barrage to then, bombard the southern Argentina, take out radar domes, force fighters into defensive positions, and deploy helicopters to counter low-flying threats. The outcome of phase two would be 48 to 72 hours, and that would be to prevent the outcome goal would be to deny air superiority by the United Kingdom. You know, there's a lot of typhoons down there, guys. You know, so that would be phase two. Phase three would be an amphibious assault. you would want to land as many troops on the Falkland Islands as possible. Now, that would be learning from mistakes that were in 1982. You'd want to push, take control of beachheads, helicopter insurgents, special forces, take control of government buildings, and then secure that area. This would need to be done in like 24 hours, guys. So already we've only done like a 3-day operation so far. Phase 4 would be consolidation and negotiation. You would continue to build up garrisons. You would continue to seize resources. So you would take control of the Sea Lion drilling wells. You would take control of any other assets in and around the Falklands, because these are the expensive bits of kit. So the end game, I feel, being realistic, guys. And again, you know, you've got to look at the British political spectrum right now. Being realistic, they could then negotiate that Britain leases the Falkland Islands back off the Argentinians. Do you think that's possible? Do you think that's possible that David Lammy goes out there and he's like, yes, we're gonna just pay the Argentinians? I think they would, guys. You know, especially if the United Kingdom are already bogged down in Europe. We wouldn't really have that many choices, you know. Likely, the United Kingdom would likely send a carrier group down there to retake those islands. But, you know, I'm unsure how much that would, it's going to take time for that strike carrier group to get from wherever it is all the way down to the Falkland Islands. It's going to take time. It really is, guys, you know. But on the whole, you know, risk and feasibility of that plan, I reckon you've got maybe like, right now with that plan and with the assets that are in place in the Falklands, I reckon it's a 50-50 chance right now. But don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you know, do not forget the amount of oil and riches that are down in the Falkland Islands are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal, guys. Phenomenal amount of resources down there. Phenomenal amount of oil. It's absolutely unbelievable. Whoever controls the Falkland Islands will become twice as rich, will have access to more than double the amount of oil that Saudi Arabia has. Do you not think people are eyeing that? Do you not think people want that oil? Do you not think people want to go down there and be that rich? I know, look, guys, if I had a chance, if somebody said to me, Sean, let me just see how many, hang on, guys, hang on. Let me see how many, let me see what the population of Argentina is. Okay, right. Okay, stop. So if somebody said to me, Sean, you will be very, very rich beyond your wildest dreams. If I was like the president of Argentina, right? And somebody said to me, Sean, listen, mate, you will be really, really rich. Like rich, and your country will be rich, and you will have all the money in the world. Like more than anyone, you will become one of the richest, if not the richest country in the world, if your country of 45 million people can secure that island that's 400 kilometers away and there's 3,500 people on it. It's just the maths, guys. The maths does not like, it's, you know, the maths of it are just, it's an inevitability. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Like, why wouldn't you? It makes no sense not, like, for the Argentinians, it makes no sense for them not to try and take the Falklands again, guys. Absolutely none. Absolutely 0 sense. The Falkland Islands have 3,500, there's 3,500 Falkland Islanders. Argentina has 45 million people, and they are 400 mile, maybe 400 mile, call it 400 mile away from their shore. And the amount of riches, resources, money that little island controls is unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely unbelievable. Lisa Jane is saying, Sean, could we all club together and buy a plot in the Falklands and coin the money in the years to come? It's very hard to buy property down in the Falkland Islands. You've got to actually live there to buy property. I looked at this like last year or something, or like maybe even it was before the last election, so I was trying to get in touch with the Falklands. There's an MP in the UK, the Falklands MP. I was trying to reach out to him, to contact him. Couldn't make contact. You know, I may need to start that again. But look, guys, like the real estate in the Falklands, it's gonna be worth an absolute fortune, guys. It really is. It's gonna be worth an absolute fortune. President Sean of Argentina. Oh, hang on a minute. Donna is saying Zelensky demands action on British firms supplying parts for Russian drones. It's a non-story, guys. It really is a non-story. You know, it's virtually impossible. Like, I've got some here. Like when we're talking about drone parts, we're talking about, like, what we're talking about here is very generic. Well, as I understand it, like very generic things. Like, for example, that's an Arduino Uno. This could be used as a drone controller. It could absolutely. There's enough power in here. There's enough capacity in here to use this as a, you know, to use that as a. It's that way. You know, there's enough power in that to use that as the main brain of a Shahed drone or something. Now, these things, these are the same ones that are used in Shahed drones, and they're the same ones that are used in remote control cars. They're the same ones that hobbyists in the UK put to. So, like, you know, there's so many different uses for these, and you know, yes, and it's so difficult to stop them, because like all you need to do, for example, is get someone like Donna, for example. In fact, you know, I'm not going to use you as an example, Donna. Let's just say there's somebody in the United Kingdom with Eastern European ties, and that Eastern European ties back in Eastern Europe have friends who know the Russians or something like that. All you do is you say, right, in fact, you know, I say, Sean, can you buy me, I don't know, 1,000 of those chips? Send them to me in Eastern Europe, and I'll put a $5 on top of each one or something. Or I'll put £2 on top of each one. Yeah, I'm gonna make $2,000, and I'm sending them to you know, I'm sending them to Nana Svitlana in Bulgaria. Like, and then Nana Svitlana, she's gonna send them on. It's virtually impossible to stop. You know, so I think, you know, I think that's a non-story, and if that doesn't happen from, you know, I just don't see it as a, I just see it as a non-story, guys. Endeavour to Preserve is saying the current population of the Falkland Islands is approximately 3,300, with estimates suggesting it may be, yeah. So look at this from the Argentinians' point of view, all right? From the Argentinians' point of view, there is an island 400 miles away. You're claiming it as yours. It was, guys, you know, there's no denying it. But what is legal and what is illegal when you're talking about geopolitical posturing? So, yeah, sorry. So take it from the Argentinian side. You've got an island, all right, that is just off your coast. It was illegally seized by Britain in 1833. And again, what do we mean by illegally seized? I mean, like, you know, can you seize something without it being illegal? You know, so off their coast, they know that whoever controls that island will be getting a shit ton of money. There's more oil off the coast of this is when people kind of get these things mixed up. There's more oil off the coast of the Falklands that's being drilled right now, and they're drilling that, than there is in the North Sea. And there's a lot in the North Sea. There's double the amount in the Falklands. All right. So that's just the North Sea. That's just around the Falklands. If you then look at British Antarctic territory, which the Falklands dictates, there's more than double that of Saudi Arabia. So whoever controls the Falklands gets very rich very quick. Very rich very quick. That's why the Americans are going to take control of Britain. That's why the Argentinians are going to have another crack at the Falklands. And, you know, everything's about Antarctica, guys. It's all about resources down there. So if you're there, you know, sorry, if you're there as Argentina and you're looking at this island like this pot of gold, this huge pot of gold, and you're a country of 45 million, and you're looking at this island of 3,500, and you're thinking, if only, you know, and we have a lot of half-baked military generals, admirals, air vice marshals who really don't know what they're talking about. They really have no idea what's coming because they're very one-tracked. Remember, guys, I was talking a long time ago about asymmetric naval warfare. You know, nobody seemed to, you know, and nobody seemed to care. Now you are seeing not asymmetric naval warfare, and that's what you're seeing, guys. You know, Zelensky's been talking about it today. Good morning, Laurie C on YouTube. TikTok. Sorry. Good morning, Laurie C. Google is saying, Sean, but they should have no claims. If Argentinian claims were real, Canada would own Greenland. Alaska would be Canadian too. Yeah, look, guys. You know, I'm just giving you guys the objective. You know, the objective. An objective outline, and I'm kind of doing this. You know, I'm kind of doing this live stream as well. Do you know what? I am doing this live stream as well from like an Argentinian point of view, so you guys understand how. What's the word I'm looking for? So you guys understand how attractive taking the Falkland Islands, you know, how attractive that actually is. Um, 82 TJ is saying, I can see Trump eyeing that up. Yeah, guys, look, this is what, like, yes, obviously, you know. So, you know, when I talk about how America is going to come and take control of the United Kingdom, and we'll be like a vassal state of it. And I guys, I'm all for that, guys. I really am. I'm all for that. But the oil down there, guys, you know, like it's difficult to understand how rich people will be once they start taking that oil from Antarctica. Twice as much as Saudi Arabia. Now, if you want to go and look at the stuff that Saudi Arabia buys and the amount of money and the quality of life in Saudi Arabia because of their oil exports, you know. Google it is saying Argentina would get battered again if they attempted to take it. Sean, my only problem is with winning is people will make Starmer out to be a great savior. I'm not convinced. So I think the Argentinians would be able to take the Falkland Islands. Now, holding it is a different story. You know, if you guys look at combat, taking ground is not easy. Taking ground is the easy bit. Holding that ground and being able to hold on for it and use that for subsequent operations, that's the difficult bit. So I just gave you guys a 4-phase operation on how I would take the Falkland Islands. It would have to be quick, you know, but then holding it, I don't think the Argentinians would want to hold it. I think the Argentinians would want to negotiate because ultimately they're not bothered. You know, I don't think they're bothered about the 3,500 people who are living off their coast. I think they're bothered about the money and the finances and what that can do for their economy and, you know, what that extra boost of cash can do, as everybody would be. But ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, we need to stop fighting over resources on Earth and start to go into space. Lisa Jane is saying, I cannot get my head around why we buy oil from elsewhere when we have it here. It's bonkers. It's beyond bonkers, Lisa. It's beyond bonkers. We buy oil from Russia that's been sold to India, and then we get that sold back to us. The Norwegians drill oil in our own territory. We then buy that oil from the Norwegians. What? What? How does that make sense? Hey, mate, do you want to come and grow some vegetables? Do you know what? No. Hey, mate, do you want to come and pick these apples in my garden? Yeah? Can I buy them off you? Yeah, but they're your apples. I also like to play dangerously. You know, I agree. It makes absolutely no sense. Labour will not fight for our country. That is evident with what has happened in the last 15 months. With the Falklands, the amount of money down there, I do think that would be a highly, you know, that they would have to go down there. Endeavour to Preserve is saying, after you get the oil and hydrocarbons, you still need to get it to a refinery. Yes, so the refineries are being set up right now on the Falkland Islands, guys. You know, that's why I keep saying, well, I've said a few times, the real estate on the Falklands is going to become ridiculously expensive. So yeah, those oil refineries, they're getting set up right now on the Falklands, and there'll probably be more of those built on West Falkland Islands. I can remember back in, I don't know, I want to say 2010, maybe, no, not earlier, maybe 2011, 2010, call it, about 2010, I don't know, around 2010. I used to work for British BP in southern Iraq, right on the southern Iraqi on the Iraq Kuwait border, on a place called Rue. It was called Rue. It's like Ramallah Oil. No, I can't remember what it was. Basically, the southern oil fields in Iraq, and the amount of money these oil companies can push into somewhere to build these facilities, it's unbelievable. So yeah, they can definitely be set up on the Falkland Islands. That's why the Falkland Islands is so key for oil extraction, mineral extraction, because it's that logistical hub where you would get your crude from the Antarctic territory. You would then initially use ships, I guess, to take it to the refineries on the Falkland Islands. The refineries would then change it to maybe gas, if you can, petrol, oil, diesel. And then they would ship that off as usable oil, usable fuel. Over time, you would put pipelines in. And look, guys, I reckon those pipelines may even be being built as we speak, you know, because it's going to be an inevitable thing. Lisa Janie said, I'm sat shaking my head at what you are telling us, Sean. Hey, guys, look, go and check it. Fact check me, guys. Absolutely fact check me. We buy our oil. We buy fuel from, I think it's Norway. We buy fuel from Norway, and Norway are drilling for that oil in the North Sea. And we're not allowed to drill for oil in the North Sea because we've gone green. We're green. We're green, guys. We don't issue any oil drilling. We don't issue any, because it's bad for the earth. We're not going to drill any. We're not going to drill for any oil. We're going to let we're going to let the Norwegians drill for that oil, and then we're going to buy that oil off we're going to buy that fuel off the Norwegians at a hefty markup. I also like to live dangerously. It just makes no sense, guys. It makes no sense. If I was David Lammy, and I'm not, I'm probably 20 kilo lighter. If I was David Lammy, I would say, look, guys, my main intent right now is he's not foreign secretary anymore, is he? If I was Yvette Cooper, and I'm not, I'm probably 2 foot taller than her, and 20 kilos heavier than her. If I was Yvette Cooper, I would say, look, guys, I'm good. I'm going to set up my office in the Falkland Islands, and I'm going to make it my main intent to get as much of this oil back to the United Kingdom as quickly as possible. That's going to be my main intent. I'm going, guys. I'm sorry. Do what you will. That'd be it. I'd be gone. I'd go down to Bryce Norton. I'd get on an A400. I'd say, right, take me to the Falkland Islands. We'll get this shit sorted. That's what I would do if I was Foreign Secretary. I'd do all my office work from the Falklands because that is key. Liquid Avenue. Hello, Liquid Avenue. I believe this is the first time you've... Liquid Avenue, welcome to join us. I believe this is the first time I've spoke to you. Liquid Avenue is saying, AI will criminalize people enough. They will fight to get their freedom restored. Okay, we're talking about AI. That's okay. That was a little bit of a side quest. I do think jobs, infrastructure, businesses, they're all going to be gone by artificial intelligence, guys. You know, so if you've got a job right now and it involves, you know, if you've got a job at a computer, pretty much gone, dilly don. If you've got a job in the arts, if you've got a job in media, if you've got a job and you need to do stuff on a computer for that job, it's pretty much gone. It's pretty much gone to AI. If you've got a job that does, you know, if you've got a job for, if you've got a job that involves transport, logistics, pretty much gone to automation, you know. So artificial intelligence is absolutely going, you know, taking a lot of places. Southern Jock is saying, Sean, so who actually owns Antarctica? Right, okay, so nobody owns Antarctica. I think there's 8. I think there's, I may be wrong on this. I think there's 8 countries who have laid claims to British Antarctic territory, American Antarctic territory, I don't know, Spanish Antarctic territory, French Antarctic territory. You can go check this out. You know, you can Google it real quick. So nobody actually owns it. A lot of countries own claim to it. But what I'm saying is Britain owns it because, hear me out before everybody jumps at me, hear me out. The only place you can land a ship, what do you call when you bring a ship in? Dock? Do you dock a ship? Do you land a ship? Moor ship? Anyway, the only place basically you can get ships into Antarctica, if you think about Antarctica, you've got like this peninsula. The only place you can get a ship in is that peninsula because it's like got a beachhead. Now, Britain has laid claim to that peninsula. And over the centuries, Britain's done very well in seizing access and egress points. A good counter to this would be the French. The French tried to go for land when the French were expanding. They went for land, and it's very difficult to hold that land. Whereas Britain controls the entry points and the exit points absolutely fine. You know, France, America, whoever, you can have as much of this land as you want, but you have to come through my little spot. So you have to pay me taxes, you have to go by my legislation, and you have to do what I say. Otherwise, I'll just fuck you about. So the question, who actually owns Antarctica? No one. Antarctica's been, there's something called the Antarctic Treaty that's due to be lifted in 2048, which prohibits militarization, and it prohibits oil exploration, mineral extraction. From now is saying just that. Okay, yeah. From now is literally just answering that question. Lisa Jane is saying, so Britain is on a win-win, really, because we have the entry and exit. Yes, and this is why the Falkland Islands is so key. Forget everything else. Trust me, guys, the amount of money in Antarctica is absolutely phenomenal. And whoever controls the Falkland Islands go and look at a map of Antarctica, guys. Whoever controls the Falkland Islands controls that little slither. I think I've got Saltai again. I think I was playing Salta. I think some Salta. I think maybe something in here. So yes, Lisa, unless the Argentinians take control of Falkland Islands. If the Argentinians take control of the Falkland Islands, then the Argentinians are in for a win-win. Endeavour to Preserve is saying Antarctic is not owned, it's governed. Yeah. Right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, guys, I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of what we've been talking about, just as a backdrop to this live stream, guys. Okay, there's lots of things happening around the world at the moment. Tomahawks to Ukraine, potentially. Remember, we've spoke about that. We have got the, there was like a paraglider attack where like I think let me get this up actually. In fact, let me get this up real quick. Give me a second, guys. What? Right, that's not right. Right, so 6 hours ago, guys, some people are reporting 24 people transcended to beams of light. Some people are reporting 40 people have been transcended to a beams of light. I'm going to go with the BBC, guys. Myanmar, at least 24 people transcend to a beam of light as army paraglider bombs Myanmar Buddhist festival. Now that's happened. This is updated 1 hour ago. At least 24 people and 47 wounded while protesting against military government after an army motorized paraglider dropped 2 bombs on the crowd. Guys, that is wild. That is absolutely wild. I'm just giving you that as the what's out on the news at the moment. Obviously, you've got this tomahawks to Ukraine, and then you've got the fallout from the Russians. Obviously, the Russians are not stupid. The Russians will understand, and the Russians will know that those Tomahawk missiles will be given to Ukraine, and the Americans will say, Zelensky, I'm going to give you these Tomahawks. See this grid reference here. There's a radar dome there. We don't want that radar dome anymore, and I'll give you another Tomahawk. So, the Russians are not stupid. And then we've got, what was the other thing I was talking about? Oh, yeah, asymmetric naval warfare, guys. I think I'm going to come straight back on, actually. I may do a video straight away on asymmetric naval warfare. I've been warning about this for a long time. It does look like Zelensky's now talking about drones are actually being launched from civilian ships, and they're doing kinetic strikes. I've warned about this for so long, guys, and people were laughing. People laugh at the Russian Navy, and I'm like, right, okay, what are we actually laughing at here? Because when aircraft carriers start to get sunk by by cheap drones, who's going to be laughing then? All these vice, I don't know, all these naval admirals and the little uniforms and the little costumes with the little medals on, they're all going to be like, yes, we didn't see that one coming. Yes, you did see it coming because I've been warning you about it for over a year, but you're not listening. So that is what we've been talking about, guys. Oh, yeah, sorry. And I'll give you a quick synopsis of the Falkland Islands 2.0. So I do believe, guys, that it's an inevitability. We was talking about this last night, and I said I should probably do a live stream on this as a wider video for you guys. I just spoke about there, giving you guys some back information about the Falkland Islands, what's previously happened, and all the Falkland Islands, guys. All you need to think about, if you think about Falkland Islands, you need to think about oil. If you think about oil, you need to think about Antarctica. Money. It makes no sense. Like, financially, it makes no sense for the Argentinians not to try and take it at some point. The two trains of thought with that are they going to take it before Britain is involved in Ukraine or after? Obviously, they will be getting pressure on Russia to do it before, and they will be wanting to hold out because they will want the most favorable circumstances for themselves, which is if Britain is involved in boots on the ground in Ukraine. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've just about wrapped it up. I am going to close this down now on TikTok. I'm going to go over to YouTube and X, and I'll be over there for a little bit. But if you're not going to jump over to YouTube, guys, I'm the Real Raven 1 on YouTube. I'm the Real Raven 1 on X. If you guys are not going to jump over, I will be back on later today, and I may be talking about asymmetric warfare later today, or I may do that straight away. I don't know. But anyway, guys, I will see you guys at 8 if I don't see you guys over on YouTube. And bye-bye. And we are off. I feel like a doff. A doff. I will doff. Oh, hang on. I've got something here. Give me a second. I am off. Do a doff. Hang on. I've got to click some buttons. Oh, I can drink my coffee now. Give me a second. I've got to click like 3 buttons. No, 4 buttons. I think I'm good. I think I'm done clicking. Right. Yeah, we have done clicking, I think. One more. Oh, no, I'll do that one. Yeah, we're good. I think we're good now. And then that one. Right, so. Sorry, guys. I got caught. Caught off guard there. I was caught off guard. Sorry, guys. I was caught off guard. Right, guys. Listen. So when we're talking about the Falkland Islands, it's one of those things that there's like no political, like nobody, like when you want, when you look at Britain right now, you've got to understand how like I can't. Okay, so. I can't understand why we've got this green agenda in Britain. I can't understand it, guys. I really can't understand this green agenda. They're talking about we've got to go green. Like, do you know what would happen if the whole world stopped producing CO2? Let's ask Grok. Let's ask Grok. Let me get Grok. Just asking Grok here. It may give me a biased answer. If the world instantly stopped producing CO2, immediate effects, days to months, halting all CO2 from fossil fuel industry and everything. Right, okay, so so it's just talking about, right, absolutely no CO2 being no CO2 being released now, guys. Let's just pretend we no CO2 being released. See, as I understand it, and I think I can remember this from school, if plants, if there's less than 400 parts per million CO2 in the atmosphere, plants start to die. That's what I remember from school. If CO2 drops below, guys, I might be wrong. I'll Google it in a second, but I'm pretty sure that if in the atmosphere CO2 drops below 400 parts per million, then plants start to die. That's what I understand it as. So what will be the short-term effects? Without new CO2, global average temperatures would stabilize, halting further warming. Extreme weather, hurricanes would continue to persist at current intensities, but not worsen. So they're not taking. Okay, right. Okay. Plants rely on CO2 for photosynthesis. Here's the thing, guys. This may be a sudden stop in natural CO2 emissions would disrupt plant growth, especially in C3 plants, e.g. wheat and rice. I didn't know what they were. Reducing crop yields within one season. Doesn't sound good, does it, guys? That doesn't sound good. Oceanic phytoplankton, absorbing 50% of global CO2, would face similar stress, impacting marine food chains. This is Grok, guys. I'm not making this up. This is what Grok's saying now. This is not me. This is Grok, okay? Economic collapse. Ceasing fossil fuel use without alternatives would crash energy systems. Right, okay, yeah, I wasn't really thinking about that. I was just thinking about, like, what would happen to the Earth. Minimum effects. CO2 decline, ecosystem collapse. Without CO2, here's the thing, guys, right? Without CO2, this is what Grok's saying, Without CO2, the ecosystem would collapse. Without CO2, photosynthesis would stall globally, starving plants and collapsing terrestrial marine ecosystems. Food chains would unravel, leading to mass extinction. Guys, I'm reading this off Grok. Potentially 50 to 80% of the species within a decade. Humans would face famine without rapid agricultural adaptation. Does that sound good? Does that sound good to you guys? So when people say there's this, like, we've got this green agenda, when I'm thinking about this green agenda, I'm thinking, right, okay, I just don't understand it. I don't understand why people are so against CO2. And again, the reason I say this is, like, I think like last year or 2 years ago, me and Sarah, we went to try and buy some bedding plants. We went on a massive side quest, and there's a place, I can't remember it. I don't know if any of you guys live in Lincolnshire. I think there's a few of them, but there's like places in Lincolnshire that have these like massive like greenhouses, and in those greenhouses, they actually pump in, they have these like CO2 tablets. So they pump in CO2. And I was talking to him, so I said, oh yeah, the plants actually grow better with CO2. So that's my, like, that's my consideration. That's why I always think about this. And I'm thinking, right, okay, so why are we trying to cut CO2? I don't know. I just want more information. I'm not saying it's a scam and all the plants are gonna die, and then we're all gonna say, oh, we need to get hydrocarbons. We need to build a machine that can put hydrocarbons in. What, like a car? All those things you outlawed. I do think it's a scam, guys. I really do. So let me just repeat that to you guys there, guys. Okay. So midterm effects. After 10 years, so guys, look, if you're just joining for the first time, we're talking about CO2. Again, I understand I'm on a little bit of a side quest here. If you guys are joining for the first time, I'm talking right now about what would happen if all CO2 stopped being produced and just no more CO2 now. Midterm effects, so 10 years, ecosystem collapse. This is what Grok is telling me, guys. I'm not making this up. This is what Grok's telling me. You guys can do your own research. Ecosystem collapse within 10 years. Without CO2, photosynthesis would stall globally. So obviously we know that plants need CO2 to survive, and plants produce oxygen, and I kind of like oxygen. Some people say I take too much of it. Sorry, guys. Without CO2, photosynthesis would stall globally, starving plants and collapsing terrestrial and marine ecosystems. Food chains would unravel, leading to mass extinctions, potentially 50 to 80% of species within the decade. Humans would face famine without rapid agricultural adaptation. I don't know. Is that what we're aiming towards? So all these green agendas, I'm thinking that's what they're heading towards. Like, let's stop the CO2 and have an ecosystem collapse. Like, I don't know, guys. I just need to explain better. Long-term effects. Wow. Okay. I mean, not. Oh God. Wow. Okay. Climate cooling. With CO2 nearing pre-industrial levels, Earth would enter a cooling phase, potentially triggering a new ice age. As per the Milankovitch cycles. Guys, if you don't know what the Milankovitch cycles are, go and check them out. You know how people are saying there's global warming? Yes, the Earth is warming, but you know what? It was a lot warmer when the dinosaurs were around, and they didn't have cars. Glaciers would advance, sea levels would drop, and habitable land would shift. Carbon cycle breakdown. Without natural CO2 emissions, the carbon cycle would collapse. Earth's biosphere, evolved for a CO2-rich environment, would face existential threats. Artificial CO2 production would be needed to maintain agriculture. So what they're saying there is we're destroying the Earth's natural CO2 production. We're stopping producing CO2. And then guess what? Oh, guys, we can't produce CO2. We need more taxes to pay for these big CO2 machines. That's what's coming. Geopolitical stability, resource wars over remaining energy sources or arable land would persist for centuries. Nations with renewable or nuclear capacity, i.e. China or EU, might dominate while others collapse. Yeah, guys, listen, that, I don't know. Just crazy, guys. I didn't realize, look, guys, I do apologize. I didn't realize what a little side quest that was going to be. I didn't think it was going to give me that much in-depth analysis. Anyway, sorry, guys. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. You guys, every day is a school day. John is saying humans have lost connection with nature. Perfectic? Cutting down trees. Guys, it is stupid cutting down trees. I don't know why people cut down trees. We've planted so many in our garden. Some of them actually I've had to cut down myself because they just went wrong. But yeah, I don't know why people are like cutting down trees all the time. I have no idea. And we're cutting down trees at such an alarming rate. We need to be planting trees. Why is everybody not planting trees? Like, I'm all for planting trees, guys. I say more trees, the better. Sharon Owen is saying, for some reason, they want to get rid of the food chain because they have taken the peat out of compost. Well, I don't know what that means. As well, so it's really hard to grow your own food. I don't know, guys. I mean, listen, we tried to do the little homesteading garden thing. It was just a failure. You know, it was just a failure. We did potatoes one year. It was really good. I thought, yeah, I got this. I tried tomatoes like the next year, and like they didn't even give any tomatoes. I don't know why. Ham and Eggs is saying those solar farms are evil. Nothing can live beneath them. Look, guys, again, you know, I've tried to get money off the local council, local government, to put solar panels over, you know, like motorways and stuff. Why are we not putting solar panels over motorways? Can somebody answer me that? Why are we not putting solar panels over motorways? It's a win-win for everyone. Motorways are already there, you know. They're literally there, motorways. They're already taking up that land. They're already taking up that area. Nobody likes to get glare in their eyes. The motorways, you know, if you put solar panels over the top of motorways, they become dry. Guess what? You reduce accidents. So why are we going into fields and making, you know, putting solar panels in fields when we've got all these motorways that can be exploited? Like, I don't know. Governments don't want to know, guys. I've put these in as proposals to the government. Nobody seems to care. Nobody seems to care, guys. You know, it's unbelievable. Helen MG, hello Helen MG, is saying everything natural, it's for total control. And Ham and Eggs is saying exactly, Sean. I don't know what that was in response to. Katie Hopkins went to a solar panel field down south to expose what they're doing. Look, I totally get it. You know, I totally get it. If you want to have solar, I get it. You know, I do. I get it. But I don't get why you're putting them in fields when there's plenty of other places to put solar panels. You know. Noob's Revenge is saying a Trump pump can clean water and make power. I don't know what a Trump pump is, but I don't dispute it. I have a log burner and they are lovely, but only to keep that room warm. Horse lover, we have a log burner as well, and I have a love-hate relationship with our log burner. It like there's a back boiler in our log burner, so it does all the radiators as well. Honestly, like when people come to the house and they're like, oh, isn't it lovely and warm in here? I'm like, yeah, do you have any idea how much wood I need per season to keep the house warm? Honestly, guys, I go through about 10 ton. Like I probably go through about 10 ton of wood every year. It's unbelievable. Sorry. Hang on. Right, listen, guys, I am going to close this down now. Hang on. Hang on, I'm just looking for Priv Caro's comment. Oh, it's up quite a bit, Priv Caro. Where is it? Can you write it again? Right, Priv Caro, this is here we are. Priv Caro is saying we make so much electricity, we sell most of it and buy back some. So in the south, I will pay a KR. I think is that Corona. While in the north they pay 0.6. Wow, that is phenomenally cheap. So just for context, I don't know what the exchange rate is, but I think here in the UK we pay about 50 pence per kilowatt hour, which is unbelievable. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to close this down now. The jux of this video was prepare for the inevitable Falklands 2.0 war. I set out in that the reasons why I believe it's an inevitability that the Argentinians will try to take control of the Falklands again. In short, comes down to money, comes down to oil, comes down to infrastructure, comes down to mineral resources, which all wars are being fought over, ladies and gentlemen. Be under no illusion. We went a little bit of a side quest talking about CO2. We've obviously got the backdrop of the Tomahawk missiles going to Ukraine, asymmetric naval warfare, and all sorts of crazy stuff. I am going to close this down now, guys. If you're on and you've not done so already, can you please hit that follow button, the like, the subscribe, whatever those buttons are down there, guys, that help this channel out. Really appreciate it when you guys do that. I will be back on tonight at 8 or just before 8 o'clock UK time. I'll see you guys later.